Modern society teaches people to avoid suffering at all costs. Chase happiness, distract yourself, numb the pain. But Carl Jung saw things differently. He believed that suffering isn't an obstacle, it's a necessity. Without it, there's no real wisdom, transformation, or depth. When people run from hardship, they also run from self-discovery. The irony? The more they try to escape suffering, the more it controls them. True psychological growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in confrontation. Look at the stories of Buddha and Christ. Both figures went through immense suffering and isolation before they could offer wisdom to the world. Jung saw this pattern everywhere, from mythology to psychotherapy. The path to transcendence is always paved with struggle. But modern culture has flipped this upside down, convincing people that the goal of life is to feel good all the time. This illusion creates more neurosis, anxiety, and addiction than suffering itself ever could. When people see pain as something to be eliminated, they miss its greatest gift, growth. The real secret? Happiness isn't found in avoiding suffering, but in engaging with it purposefully. Every painful moment holds the potential for wisdom, resilience, and self-mastery, but only if it's faced, not rejected. People who embrace this truth don't just survive adversity, they become something greater because of it. This is why the most powerful transformations in life often begin in the darkest places. But suffering alone isn't enough. It must be used as a catalyst for something deeper. People spend their lives running from suffering, thinking that avoiding pain means achieving happiness. But Carl Jung observed that when people refuse to confront their hardship, it doesn't disappear. It mutates into something worse. Neurosis, anxiety, depression, and addiction often aren't the result of suffering itself, but of the refusal to face it head-on. Those who suppress their pain only end up trapped in it, stuck in cycles of avoidance that lead nowhere. The only way out? Transformation through direct engagement with suffering. This idea isn't new. It's embedded in religious and mythological narratives. Buddha reached enlightenment only after confronting suffering in all its forms. Christ endured betrayal and crucifixion before resurrection. These stories aren't just symbolic. They reflect a psychological reality. People are meant to go through the fire of adversity, because only by walking through it can they emerge stronger, wiser, and more complete. The alternative is stagnation, avoiding the necessary pain of growth and remaining stuck in an unfulfilled existence. Think about real-life examples. People who hit rock bottom before turning their lives around. Many who have overcome addiction, heartbreak, or rejection describe their lowest moments as the turning points that led to their greatest transformation. The question isn't whether you'll face suffering. You will. The real question is, will you use it to become something greater, or will you let it break you? This is the key difference between those who crumble under hardship and those who emerge from it renewed, with a sense of meaning and purpose. Not all suffering leads to growth. Some people go through adversity and come out bitter, broken, or full of regret. What separates those who become wiser and stronger from those who remain stuck in pain? Meaning. Carl Jung believed that suffering without purpose is destructive, but suffering that is understood, processed, and integrated becomes a tool for self-discovery and resilience. When people give their suffering a greater meaning, they stop seeing themselves as victims and start seeing themselves as warriors in their own transformation. Take Nelson Mandela. He spent 27 years in prison, enduring isolation, injustice, and pain. But he didn't let suffering destroy him. Instead, he used it as a time for reflection, growth, and strengthening his resolve. When he was released, he wasn't filled with resentment. He was filled with wisdom and purpose. The same goes for Dostoevsky, who, after facing exile, poverty, and near execution, channeled his suffering into some of the most profound literature ever written. These men weren't exceptional because they avoided pain. They were exceptional because they found meaning within it. Now, look at your own life. When have you gone through heartbreak, rejection, or failure and come out stronger on the other side? What did you learn from it? The key to transcending suffering is to ask, what is this trying to teach me? How can I use this to become wiser, more resilient, and more complete? People who approach pain with curiosity and patience don't just survive, they evolve. But this mindset isn't just for life's major struggles. It applies to everyday challenges too. Because growth doesn't just happen in extraordinary circumstances. It happens in the smallest moments of daily life. People often think of suffering as something grand, life-altering losses, devastating failures, or extreme hardships. But the truth is, suffering is present in everyday life, shaping who we become in ways we rarely notice. Heartbreak, rejection, disappointment, and setbacks all carry the potential for growth, if approached with the right mindset. Instead of seeing these moments as unfair obstacles, what if we saw them as opportunities for self-improvement? Carl Jung believed that the way people handle small sufferings determines how they handle the larger ones. Take rejection, for example. Someone gets turned down for a job, a relationship, or a creative project and immediately assumes they aren't good enough. But what if, instead of internalizing rejection as failure, they saw it as a chance to refine their skills, mindset, and approach? Psychotherapy often reveals that people who struggle most with anxiety and depression aren't necessarily suffering more than others, but they see their suffering as meaningless. When suffering is met with curiosity rather than avoidance, it transforms into wisdom. Think about the last time you faced something frustrating, a misunderstanding, a delayed goal, a difficult conversation. Did you react with impulsiveness, avoidance, or frustration? Or did you pause, reflect, and ask, what is this moment teaching me? The difference between someone who grows through suffering and someone who remains stuck in it is the ability to turn pain into insight. And once people realize that suffering isn't the enemy, they unlock something powerful: resilience and the ability to transcend even the hardest moments of life. Modern society teaches people to fear suffering, to see it as something that should be eliminated rather than understood. But Carl Jung believed that the real problem isn't suffering itself. It's that people are never taught how to endure it, learn from it, and transform through it. Schools teach facts, but they don't teach resilience. Social media shows people an illusion of happiness, but it never shows the psychological reality behind true growth. The result? A world filled with people who break at the first sign of hardship because they were never shown how to confront it with wisdom. The truth is, suffering is inevitable, but people have a choice. They can see themselves as victims of life, or they can use suffering as a tool for self-discovery and transcendence. The most powerful individuals in history weren't those who avoided hardship, but those who embraced it and used it to forge unshakable strength. Psychotherapy, philosophy, and mythology all teach the same lesson. When people stop resisting suffering and start engaging with it, they gain patience, steadfastness, and a deeper understanding of themselves and the world. So, the real question is, will you keep running from suffering, or will you face it and grow from it? Once you realize that pain is not your enemy, but a necessary part of your transformation, life changes. The goal isn't to eliminate hardship, but to develop the mindset and inner strength to endure it, and come out on the other side wiser, stronger, and more complete. This is the essence of transcendence, and once you understand it, suffering will never have the same hold on you again. Next time you face adversity, heartbreak, or failure, ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me? How can I use this to grow instead of allowing it to destroy me? The people who transcend suffering aren't the ones who escape it. They're the ones who master it. Now, I want to hear from you. What's one difficult experience in your life that shaped you in unexpected ways? Drop it in the comments below. I want to know how you've grown through pain and transformation. And if you want to keep unlocking powerful psychological insights, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because this journey is just beginning, and there's much more to uncover.